News Talk 640 WFNC. On the screen, on the podcast right now, KIRK DEVIERE, Chairman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. And Mr. Chairman, you normally come in after you have a meeting. No meeting yesterday. What happened?
Well, I mean, you can look outside your front door, Gilbert.
I told you to come in the back.
We're being safe. We're doing what we're asking the community to do, but we just moved it to today at 2 p.m. So, the county facilities and we'll be back open at noon today. So we moved our meeting to 2 today. Want everybody to be safe, and we're going to have a virtual link to make sure that people can, if they need to be safe, they can, go ahead and link in virtually. But we'll make sure we do the business that we need to do across the county.
Well, you normally come in after the meeting, and so now you're here prior to the meeting. What are we looking for the discussion to center around?
Yeah, I mean, we just got not a large agenda, which is a good thing. So we'll move through those items tonight. Really, probably just a quick update on the weather that we've had, and any updates from that. And while I'm talking about that, just really want my hats off to our emergency management team, just all the community partners, the first responders, DOT, City of Fayetteville, just all the community partners that have worked through this cold weather and have, in some ways minimized the impact. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been better than what it could be. I know everybody wanted the snow to come, then didn't want it to come, and then wanted it to come. So.
And at some point, it didn't look like it was coming at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, City Manager Doug Hewitt, I wonder if I still have that picture of him in here. Oh, I do. I'm going to put this up on the screen. There's a picture of Doug. You can't see it, but we had him in here, and there's a picture of Doug in a sleigh with his dog, and no snow, just grass. And he said, Greg Fisher owes me an apology because I think the city bought a bunch of sleighs.
He could have changed it back to the next morning and see where it was.
Yeah, well, he ended up using all those sleighs, but it was one of those things that we were in anticipation of the storm coming. Didn't seem like it was coming. We went to sleep. All of a sudden, the dry spot closed in, and all of a sudden, we were inundated with snow. And so when that happens, you have to make some adjustments. And it just kind of goes into a little bit of what I want to talk about in terms of the importance of the city and the county to be hand in hand when we have an emergency like that. And we're working to get that 911 center to be that. But that's not just the gist of it.
No,
There's
it's not
more
just
to
911. I mean, it's, the Emergency Operations Center is working hand in hand. And again, want to just give thanks to our partners Cornerstone and Salvation Army, who both operate shelters. When we look at transportation to those shelters, you're using city assets sometimes, county assets sometimes. So it was a seamless coordination. That's what I mean. Our emergency management team that works here, and that's all municipalities across the board, all different agencies, really come together to make it seamless, to make sure that we're focused on taking care of our citizens and making sure that they're safe.
And that's the bottom line. It's all about the people. I don't care if you live in the county or if you live in the city. It's about people.
And the other thing that you saw, I was cross-talking with the mayors. So I was, we had a communications line opened up with the mayors, and I'm talking to them to kind of let them know what's coming or what we're doing at the county level. And the different mayors were updating what they were doing at their level, and the managers were cross-talking as well. And that's what you expect to see. The community's focused on taking care of each other, talking with the school system to understand where they're going to be, and, with DOT to see, what's going on there. It's just it was a good, good collaboration that is, again, focused on making sure our community's safe.
It's easy to use the cliche, we dodged a bullet, because, last weekend we had the ice storm and the potential for a very large power outage that really didn't materialize. We did have some outages, but not as much as we could have. And then this one was a snow event, which normally doesn't equate to power outages. That was a good thing for us, but we collaborated with PwC and a whole lot of folks. Talk about the effort there to make sure that we're ready to go when the storm hits.
And again, that just speaks to, working across the community, PwC, Duke Energy, just all the different providers. We're constantly in update with our Emergency Operations Center to understand where they were positioning assets, what was going on. PwC responded. they're right here locally, ready to go. Hats off to those folks that are out there working in that cold weather to make sure that everybody has that electricity that they need. A lot of warnings went out about our grid and making sure you kind of in the morning time, lower your consumption a little bit. But overall, I don't want to say we dodged a bullet. I think we prepared, which is important. The community listened. They stayed off the streets. They did the things they needed to do to prepare. And, we're on the far side of this. And, kids are still out of school today. My son's sitting at the house right now. He gets another day off. They'll have to make it up, of course. But, I think we're on the far side of this incident. But, I'm sure there'll be more.
Well, the thing is that the Cumberland County Schools asynchronous right now, which means it is a remote day. Do a little bit of work on the computer, and we don't have to make it up. And that's the neat thing about being asynchronous. That's true for several schools in our system right now, or at least in our listening area. Because Clinton City Schools, Sampson County, Harney County, Hoke County, all those schools are remote learning. Also, Fayetteville State University, Methodist University, and Fayetteville Technical Community College. We told you to come in the back door, and because right now the concern is the patches of ice that are around in our community. I came in and, I decided to come down Highway 24 as opposed to coming down Clinton Road. And so you can go down 40, 50 miles an hour which is a very nice, dry stretch. And all of a sudden, because of our longleaf pines, a certain section of road doesn't get the amount of sun it needs to clear up. And now you're on a patch of ice going 40 miles an hour, and you're on your own.
Well, and I think that's what you saw with the school system, and just a neat collaboration there. So the school system talking to, our volunteer fire chiefs and the fire chiefs out in these rural areas to kind of check on roads, see what's going on. Can we get our buses around? They do ride-arounds. Talking to the chair of the school board yesterday, just catching up to make sure, she didn't need anything from the county side and just, coordinating. They want to be safe. And in some of these rural roads that, out in some of these, where the sun's not hitting, so to speak, it's still a little icy out there. So we want to be safe. And that's the power of this remote learning. While we don't need to do it all the time, it's good to have that benefit. And maybe that's one of the positives that came out of COVID is we have an infrastructure to be able to do that. But again, it's important that, children learn face to face.
Well, we're not going to stop that from happening. I'm sure at some point we'll get to the point where we can get those buses back. I think the part is not only is there ice, you're asking people who may not have experience in driving in snow or icy conditions. I have that from Philadelphia. And
I'm a Florida boy, so I'm not.
Well, let me know which way you're going. I'm gonna stay away from you.
I'm good. I've lived in North Carolina for a while, but North Carolina's not in the north either. So.
No, that's right. And right now, I mean, I've got a brother up in Philly and a cousin in New Jersey. They dodged this bullet. They didn't get the second round, but they've got snow on the ground, and the schools don't close up there, but they have the machinery, and it's not cost effective for you guys in the county to line up a bunch of snow plows and everything that we may use twice a year. It doesn't make any sense.
And it's just encouraging people to stay off the road if you can. If you got to be on the road, you've got a job. You just gotta be slow, take your time, and be smart about how you get there.
All right. You're going to meet this afternoon. This is a full-fledged regular
so this is our regular meeting that we would normally have. Actually, it was scheduled yesterday for 9 a.m., and we moved it on Friday to 2 p.m., and then yesterday we went ahead and moved it. Maybe on Sunday, we went ahead and moved it to today at 2 p.m. Again, just to let people know. But we're continuing to move along. We'll move right into committee meetings this week, later this week, and then a work session or agenda session next week where we kind of get into details, getting updates on the different projects that are going on, as well as other items that are coming forward. I'm sure you read the article around the Crown Theater and arena modernization. So that's all moving forward on the timeline. We're being very deliberate about that process, getting the architect together with the owner's rep, with the construction manager at risk, and, making sure we have that pre-planning meeting to budget before we design and not to design to a budget. So that's important that we go through that process as well. And we'll continue, we're starting later this month. We're starting our coffee with chairman coffee with the chair, or coffee with the commissioners, excuse me. Again, back up out in the community, talking to the community, letting them come in, give us their thoughts. Last year we did it around the budget. This year we're just going to kind of open it up a little bit more to have those conversations. Got great feedback. We'll start our first one later this month in February, and so we'll get that information out. I'm sure the team will be on here talking about it as well, our communications team. So, it's important that we're out engaging the community and continue to move forward. You mentioned 911. Hopeful we continue, Mayor Colvin and I continue to work towards an opportunity to have that joint meeting later this month. This weather's probably slowed a few things down, but maybe later this month, early March, we can continue to move that forward and have a direction that we can come together and have this joint 911 center.
If you're just joining us, KIRK DEVIERE is the chairman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, and he normally comes in the day after we have a meeting. You were scheduled to have the meeting yesterday, so we had you locked in to come at 7:35. And we talked about it last night. We said, hey, look, come on in advance. It's okay that we can kind of get a sense of where we're going and where we're moving. You get out here and you talk. You're talking about having these coffees with the folks. As you make your way around the county, you bump into people, recognize you, and they come up. Everyone has a concern. What are people talking about to you that's important?
They're talking about a lot of different things. They're talking about, right now what's happening with the schools and this consolidation, just in the last probably 30 days, you're hearing conversations around, depending on which parts of the community, what are we doing with the sheltering? And we're thankful that we've got the Salvation Army back in place now where we've got capacity. And really what we've seen is even during this winter mix, we had more capacity than we needed, which is a good thing right now. So that's encouraging. I think, people are, what's happening with the economy right now. I think that's just a concern. I think you hear a lot of federal pressures come down to the local level. Of course, you're always going to, it's the last 30 days has been tax, paying your tax bills. So people want to talk about property taxes and what we're doing and the reevaluation and kind of where we've been. And so we talk about how we tried to reduce that tax burden as much as we could. And you're hearing those things. I think it's just, those things that people sit around the kitchen table and talk about. Depending on which parts of the community you go in, you kind of hear, different things. But I think people, are focused on those core issues that affect their daily lives.
Was it you that was saying that we got the tax rate down to a certain number and you like to see 3 instead of 4?
No, that was Marshall. That was Commissioner Faircloth.
That was Marshall Faircloth. Yeah, that's right.
And I texted him right after he said that.
Did you? He said he'd like to see it get down to 3, but there is some
so
validity.
When we started, he said he'd like to see it in the 4s, and I said, well, we did that.
Yeah. And now he wants it in 3.
When we first started talking about the budget last year, he said, I'd really like to see that, down in the low 5s or even in the 4s. And
well, but he's a CPA.
We can get there.
So his whole thing is about the numbers. And to his point, though, it's how our community is viewed by businesses who are considering coming in here.
That's right. We went from the bottom of the state to the top quarter of the state, top 25% of the state, when it comes to, the property tax level as far as to help recruit businesses here. And that's important for Robert, just like the schools are important to Robert Van Gien's at the Economic Development Corporation. That's an important thing. But we did drop the rate.
Yes.
But the other thing that we're having conversations, and I think we'll see it in February or March, is cutting the time of the reval. So do we move it from 8 years to 6 years or 6 years to 4 years? There's a cost associated with that. So there's probably a
how do you balance that out?
Yeah, how do you balance
that
out?
But Marshall and I had that talk as well, because there's a sticker shock that comes to homeowners if you wait 8-10 years before you do evaluation,
especially through COVID and the housing boom that we saw.
Exactly, and so now you all of a sudden you get this tax burden. There's some folks who are on fixed incomes who can't afford the increase that's going to be associated with their mortgage, insurance, and all the other things that happen when the value of your home goes up dramatically in just a year or so. All right, so we're looking at producer extraordinaire.
He's giving you the 1 minute
He's
sign.
1 minute, stand in the door. So, Mr. Chairman, you have 1 minute. Go.
No, I just, again, always appreciate this time. Want to tell people to stay safe out there. We're not out of this weather. Watch out for the black ice. Watch out for the ice patches. Continue to stay connected. Lean in. Watch our meetings online. Engage with us. And again, thank you to all our community partners that worked with us through this winter weather. And I'm sure there'll be another opportunity to do it again. But what a great team that we have.
Mr. Chairman, always good to talk with you. Day before, day after, it doesn't matter when the meeting is. We offer some insight for folks and perspective and clarity and transparency. I think we've got to be able to talk about all these issues in order for the community to have trust in what we're doing. All right, thank you again. You're listening to News Talk 640. We're WFNC. We've got Fayetteville's most dependable forecast right now with Matthew Huddleston.
Increasing clouds today and a slightly milder afternoon with highs in the upper 40s. Mostly cloudy skies tonight with a few showers pushing in, a low in the middle 30s, and then rain showers with highs in the middle 40s for the day on Wednesday. That's your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Matthew Huddleston.
All right, Matthew, thank you. I don't even have to look. 23 degrees. That's where we were, that's where we are, and that's where we're going to stay for the rest of our lives here in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, and also Spring Lake. You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC.
Fayetteville's first in news and information for 4 decades. News Talk 640 WFNC. Say